Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you're doing well and ready for a little bit of, I do this with my fists, which means we're going to be working our glutes. I don't know. For some reason in my brain it works. Um, Glutes, so good. So good for stability, obviously, for strength. And they are, in my mind, one of the most important muscles of the core, right? Because they keep us extended at the hip and upright. And I keep squeezing my fist. One thing that's going to be really useful today is some blocks or something that can bring the floor up to you. If you don't have it, don't worry. You're just going to have to work harder. And that's okay. um, yeah, let's just jump right into it. Let's start lying down. Because even if we're going to be working glutes and getting a little bit fiery, we still get to start lying down. Right? Who doesn't love that? And depending on how your day has been, you might need to get some wiggles out or a big yawn or a little stretchy stretch. And then try to find a position where you can be more or less still for a couple minutes. Maybe take a little loop of your shoulders onto your back. And then for a few breaths, inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. And then continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. As I record this, it's really windy here in Vancouver, and that can sometimes make you stuffed up. So I get it. Right? Breathe through your mouth if that's what feels best today. And then tune into your breath a little bit more. Observe your inhales and your exhales. Notice any qualities about the breath, the sound, the feeling. Last few moments here. And start to bring a little bit of movement back into your body. Whatever way feels best for you to wake up. Maybe take a big yawn like I did, or a little windshield wiper of your knees. Until you feel ready to draw your knees in toward your chest and take a little rock from side to side. And you could be a little ball. You could have your legs further away from you, maybe massaging up the pelvis rather than the spine. And then you extend your legs up to the sky. And your knees could be bent. They don't need to be straight. You could point to the flex, your ankles or toes, your feet here. Draw circles. You might reach your arms up to the sky as well. Let your shoulder blades straight back to the floor. So there's ease Maybe you shake everything out and then come back to center. Keep your knees bent, bring your feet to the floor. So setting up for bridge pose, feet about hip width apart, parallel-ish, close enough into your bum that you can tickle your heels with your fingertips. Now, when I say hip width, often people go a bit too wide with their feet. Imagine you were just standing on the floor. And without a mirror on the ceiling or even to the side, it's tricky, right, to figure this out. But the more you practice, the more you develop the sort of awareness of where your body is in space. Wrap your shoulder blades onto your back. Arms could be extended along your sides, or you might bend your elbows and take robot arms. And then pressing your heels especially into the floor. Inhale, lift the pelvis and spine up and away. And exhale, slowly lower back down. So a couple more of these, just inhaling to lift up into bridge and exhaling to lower. Starting to warm up the movement, warming up the glutes and the spinal erectors. The last one here. And then pause at the bottom. You might take a little wiggle or just stay in stillness. All right, so option one is to continue lifting up and down in bridge with both feet. Option two is to maybe walk your left foot in a little bit and then draw your right knee toward you, or just come up onto the toes. Actually, that would be the next little option, but maybe draw your knee toward you. And then either our robot arms or arms by your side for more stability. And then inhale, lift up into a single leg bridge. And exhale, slowly lower back down. And I really want you to think of squeezing your right knee toward you as you lift up. And then the natural tendency is either to overlift that right side or have it drooping down. So that's why we really want you to squeeze the knee in toward you. And that kind of helps stabilize the pelvis. Last one here. All right. And then switch feet. If you're switching feet, take a quick break. If you're using both feet, and then come onto the right foot, draw your left knee or thigh in toward you, and then inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. So a few more of these on your own time. And it might be a lot easier on one side than the other. That's totally normal. It might be harder to keep the knee hugged in on one side than the other. Also totally normal. Last few here. And then release your legs, shake them out a little bit. Hug your knees in toward your chest. A little rock from side to side. And then let's start to rock and roll up and down the spine if that feels good for you. If not, you can roll to one side and press yourself up, and then we'll meet on hands and knees. So eventually coming to knees underneath hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked. Hands nice and wide. Outer shoulder width apart or wider as we start to move through cat and cow here. Inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through your collarbones. Exhale, take the tailbone under, round through your spine. Really press the floor away from you. Inhale into cow. Exhale, round into cat. So a few more of these undulations on your own time, on your own breath. And as always, maybe there's some other natural movement that would feel really good here. So feel free to add on, start to freestyle your cat and cow. And maybe it ends up not even looking anything like cat and cow. I don't really care. Just go for something that feels good here. right. And then come back to center. Shake out your hands a little bit. And if you have something for padding for underneath your knees, you can bring it underneath your left knee to begin. And then tuck those left toes. And on your inhale, start by just stepping the right leg back behind you. Make sure your hands are nice and wide. Press the floor away from you with your hands. So there's slight protraction, not crazy protraction like in cat, but a little bit of protraction of the shoulder blades. And then belly button to spine. Press the lower ribs up to the sky, maintaining that length in your leg. Peel the toes back toward you even more so the leg starts to lift. Now, only so high as you can lift it. You can still see your toes, and so your pelvis remains neutral. As soon as we start to lift it too much, we dip into the low back. Keep drawing belly button to spine, and then just take little lifts here. Keeping, again, your pelvis as neutral as you can the entire time. Imagine you have a T-set on your pelvis. Why would you have one there? It is unclear. However, you don't want grandma's T-set to fall and break. Last one. All right, and then bend your right knee and start to take big circles or shapes. And I don't care if the movement now goes through your body. In fact, I encourage it. We're just loosening up through that right hip, but maybe you're feeling a little bit of fire in the outer left hip as we stabilize. And then release, come back to center. We'll switch sides. So if you're using padding, bring it underneath your right knee now. And then get all those activations going. So fingers spread wide, press the floor away from you a little bit, belly button to spine, and then step the left leg back. Pause here. So really start to squeeze the top of the thigh on the left leg, reach the heel further back, and then peel the toes toward you even more, that the leg de-weights. And then take those little pulses, little lifts of the leg up. Again, never so high that you end up dipping into the low back. Remember, you've got that imaginary T-set there. Keep squeezing the top of the thigh on that lifted leg. Keep reaching the heel further back. And squeeze the bum to lift the leg. All right, and then bend the left knee. Start to take big circles or shapes or figure eights. Just move however you need to move here. And maybe starting to feel a little bit of a fire up of the outer right hip. And then release, come down to center. Give your hands a little bit of a break, because especially if you've got some padding underneath, it sends your weight forward a little bit more into your hands than it would be normally. All right, and then let's switch sides again. So back to left knee down. And then keeping your right knee bent, bring your leg back up behind you. Press your low back up to the sky. Flex the toes of that lifted leg back toward your shin. So it's almost like you're trying to press the sole of the foot up to the sky. And then lift. This time you can dip through the back. And exhale round. And inhale. Lift the right leg up a little bit more. Exhale round. Couple more of these. But I want you to think more of the right leg lifting than it is a cat and cow. So try not to exaggerate the movement through the spine. All right. And then release. Let's do one last switch. Back to the padding under the right knee. Keep the left leg bent as you reach the sole of the foot up to the sky. Inhale, lift a little bit more. Exhale, round through the spine. And then inhale, lift. Maybe you dip into the low back. And exhale, round. Keep that big spread of the fingertips. Grip the mat with the finger pads. Last breath here. All right. And then come back to center. Remove the padding, shake out your hands, and then let's meet in downward facing dog. Stay on hands and knees if that's where you prefer to move. You can move through cat and cow. Otherwise, join me. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up. You could pedal the heels, bending one knee and then the other. You could wag your tail from side to side. And then bend your knees, look forward. On your exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. Excuse me. You might bring blocks underneath your hands here to bring the floor up to you. You could clasp opposite elbows with hands to get more traction through the spine. You could rest your elbows on your knees or thighs. And then maybe you nod your head yes, shake your head no, and let your head hang heavy, neck long. Last couple breaths here. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins or blocks or the earth. Inhale, little partway lift. Pause here. Send your sit bones back. Wrap your shoulder blades onto your back. Beam your heart forward. There might even be a touch of cow here in the spine. So we don't want to be rounding, right? It's a hip hinge, like your paper, folding at the hips. And then exhale, let it all go. Couple more, just like that. Inhale, little lift. Exhale, fold. Hamstrings and glutes really working here. Last one. And this time, tuck your chin into your chest and roll up to standing. So round the whole time. Head heavy, arms heavy. Till eventually you come all the way up. There's a very cute dog outside my window right now. Couple loops of your shoulders up, back, and down. Little wiggle, noodle, or shake out. See, even when you're supposed to be focusing inward with yoga, sometimes the senses go outward and you see the sweetest little doggo. Anyway, okay, bring your hands to your hips. Let's do some gentle hip circles, one direction, and then the other, and then a twist. All right, feet about hip width apart, buoyancy in those knees. Actually, there's going to be a lot of bend in the knees because you're going to sit into chair pose. So hips down and back, tailbone down slightly till you feel the belly button engaged toward your spine. Arms can just be wherever. And I just want you to rock a little bit side to side, maybe forward and back, maybe doing kind of circles or half moons. Just finding center, really, by going off center, if you know what I mean. Knees stay out, feeling those glutes starting to fire up, and then pause back in the middle. Little draw of belly button to spine, shoulder blades on your back, knees track out slightly, and then send your weight over to your left foot. Make sure you still have chair pose on this leg, so knee bent, hips back, maybe come up onto the toes of that right foot, maybe take a couple taps up and down, and then maybe you extend the right leg forward, and then pick it up, and then take it out to the right, and up, and then back behind you, and up, and back out to the right, and up. Watch this one, curtsy to the left, and then back to center, and then come down into the middle. Pause here. You're going to feel that left leg is really going to want to send you over to the right. Be like, cool. Thank you for that feedback, left leg. And now choose to go over to the right. Knee bent, hips back. Right, long through the spine. Couple taps up and down with that left foot. And extend the left leg forward and bring it back to center. And then out to the left and center. And then back behind you and middle. Back out to the left and center. And then curtsy to the right and center. And then come back to both feet. Pause in the center. Last couple breaths here. All right. Exhale, release all the way into your forward fold. Little wiggle or sway. And then fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky this time. And exhale, hands to prayer. All right, release your arms, shake it out a little bit. And then send all your weight to your right foot. A little buoyancy on that supporting leg. Take a few easy pulses. Toes could be on the floor on that left foot. You're still doing the majority of the work, right? You're just giving yourself that grace to find your balance. Maybe you kick the heel of the bum, lean forward, keep the pulses going. Again, toes could be on the floor behind you. And then bring that knee forward again. Inhale here, bring your arms to cactus. As you exhale, start to reach your left leg back. Little buoyancy on that supporting knee. Now, same thing that we were doing on hands and knees. Keep your left leg bent, ankle flexed. Option to stay here. Inhale here, exhale, twist to the right. Keep the elbows high. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the left and center. Once more each way. And then left. And then woo! Center. Oh, that was so close. Okay. And then exhale. Release into your forward fold. This is a really great place now to have blocks for underneath your hands. Send your weight to your right leg again. And then start to sweep your left leg back behind you for standing splits. So it could be a standing L shape, or maybe that leg lifts up a little bit higher. Right. Hands can be on blocks or on the floor. Little micro bend on that right knee. And I want you to even take your right thumb into the hip crease, wrap the outer right hip back, spiral the inner left thigh up to the sky. So your toes are flexing towards the floor rather than opening to the left. Now, option to stay here, or as you exhale, curl into little ball, bending elbows or bringing knee and nose toward each other. Inhale to lift up. Exhale, curl. Maybe if you don't have blocks, you're doing this with hands in prayer for more of a warrior three position. And then exhale, step your left leg down, shake out that right leg. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold, charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Whew. Shake it out a little bit. This is where maybe you want to take a fist and just kind of manually release into the glutes on that right side. If you're not feeling that fire, don't worry about it. Sometimes it takes a lot of practice to be able to fire up those muscles as quickly as you want to be able to. Excuse me 1 second. There we go. All right. So come back to the mat. Send your weight to your left foot. Little buoyancy on that knee. And then maybe take a few easy pulses. Right toes could be on the floor, or maybe you pick up the right leg. Maybe you kick your heel to bum, lean forward, keep the pulses going, or toes to the floor. And then bring that right knee forward here. Bring the arms to cactus. Inhale here. Exhale, start to hinge forward into that sort of scarecrow warrior three. Option to stay here, or inhale here. Exhale, twist to the left, and then come back to center. Exhale to the right, and then center. Once more each way. Whew. I've got something going on in this hip that's making the balance tricky on this side today, but that's okay. And then release into your forward fold. Little bounce or sway. And then send your weight to your left foot. Again, a little buoyancy on that knee. And then start to sweep your right leg back behind you, whether it's an L shape or higher for standing splits. Make sure there's at least a micro bend on this left knee. Wrap the outer left hip back, right? You can really manually adjust yourself And then flex the toes towards the earth. Maybe you stay here, or maybe exhale, curl into a little ball. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, curl. And maybe if you don't have blocks, you're doing this with hands in prayer. One more. Exhale, step your feet down. Whew, little wiggle or bounce. And then for 3 breaths, inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. And then bend your knees, plant your hands, come down to hands and knees. Whew, little wiggle or shake. And then shift your hips on one side, swing your legs forward. And then exhale, lower all the way down to the earth. And draw your knees into your chest. So this is a great example of how things can change from one day to the next. I plan a class, at least for these videos, and then I go to do this stuff, and some days it feels really easy and free, and some days it feels really challenging, and it could be the same thing from one day to the next. But that's what yoga is great for, right? It's giving yourself the grace to take things as they come each day. All right, keep your knees bent, bring your feet to the floor, and then we'll move into figure 4. So get to release those glutes a little bit. Cross your right ankle over top of the left thigh. Now, the further your foot crosses over, the less of a stretch you're going to get. So think of bringing your sole of the foot parallel with your femur bone. And then maybe you stay here. Maybe you start to deepen it. You could bring a block under your left foot, or you might draw your legs toward you. Excuse me, you could rock a little bit from side to side. You don't have to use your hands or a strap behind that left thigh if you wish to. Maybe you interlace your hands behind there. But if by doing that you have to curl up, then don't worry about it. Keep your head on the floor. Maybe just bring one hand to the left knee and one hand to the right thigh. Make sure that these top toes are active and flexed back toward your shin, because you don't want to unintentionally sickle this ankle joint. A few more breaths here. And then slowly return, unwind your legs, shake them out a little bit. And then we'll switch sides. So now cross the left ankle over top of the right thigh. Again, you might stay here, or you might bring a block underneath that right foot, or maybe you draw your legs toward you. Maybe you choose to just use the muscles of your core. Maybe you rock a little bit from side to side. Right? I really like doing that because it helps me find sometimes a more interesting angle for the stretch. You could bind behind the right thigh if you wish, with your hands or a strap. So a few breaths here. And then slowly release your legs, shake them out a little bit. You know me, I usually like to end with a twist. We don't really have time today though, so if you want to, you can pause the video and take a twist. Otherwise, start to make your way into your final resting pose. It could be flat on your back, legs bent or straight in Shavasana. You could rest on your side or in child's pose or in a seated meditation. Legs up the wall would feel really good after all of that single leg balancing work. Anyway, there's no rush to get there. But once you have found your final resting pose, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh your breath away. Couple more. And then let go of your breath control. Return to your natural breath. Let go of any last muscle tension or gripping, particularly in your face or your jaw. With each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.